friends. This is Marcia MacKillop, Parish Associate for PCOL, and grateful today to come to you with an encouraging word. This greeting is coming to you a few days after Easter, the day that we celebrate resurrection. For many of us, me included, it didn't feel much like Easter. We weren't able to visit our families or have meals with them. We weren't able to worship together, but we did find ways to make it work. And we recognize that the season of Eastertide is really about a living and risen Christ. Easter is a sign of hope. And we are Easter people because we believe in resurrection. In a time that feels like we're isolated and afraid, there are signs of hope, signs of a living God all around us. We have to open our eyes and our hearts in order to see them. Here are a few signs of hope that I have heard over the last few weeks. There are stories of hope that I've heard either on the TV news or on the internet, and it's not so easy to find them sometimes because the news puts a lot of emphasis on the negative numbers. I heard a story about a 14-year-old who was using his own money in order to buy and deliver food in a community that didn't have enough to eat. And of course, I heard some encouraging stories about some of our football players and some of our singers that have millions of dollars and been giving that money out to resources like food initiatives, hunger initiatives, and to some of the hospitals. There were some restaurants that are closed, and they're going in and they're cooking for all the nurses and the doctors in the hospitals, and I find that very encouraging. I don't know if you've heard about some of the shelters, but they're having difficulty keeping animals, which is a really good problem. A lot of people, especially New York City, decided if they were going to be quarantined, they were going to do it with a furry friend. So lots of cats and dogs have been either fostered or adopted. I also wanted to bring up the fact that our environment is getting a little bit better. There's been reports of less smog in some of the big cities in California and globally. So that's encouraging. And then I was really touched by a story in India about a doctor and his family that are quarantined, and they decided together to sew masks for all of those that couldn't afford them or get any, sort of the very poor in India that would be killed or die from COVID-19 if they didn't have masks. So these are really signs of hope. These are signs that God is working and living among us. And so I'd like to ask you, what are your stories of hope? I would encourage you every day to find a story of hope and share it with at least one person. And if you're not doing it, pick up the phone, call somebody. Call a friend you haven't talked to in a while. Call your dad. Call your mom. Call a family member that you struggle with and just reconnect. You will feel encouraged. My encouraging word is resurrection. I want you and us to all commit to each other that we practice resurrection because this is who we are. We're Easter people. And remember that each day we worship a living Christ, a God who shows signs of life amidst the feelings of destruction and devastation. We are Easter people. Practice resurrection.